I'm Bill McPhee. We're going to start this live podcast in a few seconds. I just want to wait till a few of the streaming comes on board, our YouTube and our Facebook channel, both to Cry Dry Tear, and our Facebook page, group page, Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. So we're going to do that very shortly, get going while these streams kick in. Lots to talk about tonight, folks. Lots to talk about. We're going to cover the topic of suicide, and I'll get into that a little bit more just because I was on a podcast, doing a podcast as a guest with Sean Wellington, and he's starting up a podcast on suicide as well. He had a friend that passed away through suicide. So it looks like our streaming is on board, and so we'll start. So I'm just doing another introduction of myself. So hi everybody. Today is July the 19th, and 2020, and my name's Bill McPhee, and this is Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. It's a podcast that I do live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And usually I have a guest on different times. You'll see that there'll be many guests that I've had, but I'll get into all that a little bit later. So I'm coming from you, coming from Fort Erie, Ontario. It's not too far from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. And basically I'm at the mouth of Lake Erie, where it runs into the Niagara River and flows down into Niagara Falls, and I'm on the Canadian side looking over the mouth of Lake Erie and the Niagara River, and I can see the Buffalo skyline from where I'm doing this broadcast. So that's exciting. It's been really hot lately, the last couple of weeks. So I've probably been in swimming in about 8 different times over the last probably month or so, and yeah, so that's always refreshing. But it's very hot. Been taking a few cold showers as well, just to break the heat. So before I make any announcements, I just introduce myself to people who don't know me. So basically, my name is Bill McPhee, and I was hospitalized 6 different times. I lived in 3 different group homes. I had a suicide attempt, and I spent 5 years on the couch basically doing nothing, just pacing back and forth, dealing with a deep, dark depression. And in 1987, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And then in 1994, I started a publication called SZ Magazine, which was a magazine on mental illness, on schizophrenia. And I did that for 23 years, and I retired. And then now I'm kind of back in the game and doing these podcasts with a bunch of other stuff I'm doing too. I did write a book. Here called To Cry Dry Tear: Bill McPhee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia, and you can purchase that on my website, billmcphee.ca, and McPhee is MACPHEE. So yeah, so what I've been up to this week, I've done a couple of podcasts. I did one it's called The Psyche, and that was out in the UK. So I did an interview with Hannah from the UK on a podcast, and I did Sean Wellington's podcast as well. And I'm gonna have Sean actually on as a guest sometime on our page here on our broadcast. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, it was because of Sean, and Sean lost a friend, and lost a friend around through suicide, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. And I know that it's a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but it is such a reality. It truly is. And I had a suicide attempt, and basically with my attempt, my dad was out playing bingo, and my mom, she was helping my sister babysit her children. My sister had triplets at the time, and my mom was helping out, and a lot of times I went to help out too. But this day I stayed back, and basically I was in my room, and I had a whole bunch of sleeping pills. And you know what? When you're suicidal and you have suicidal ideation, you're very hopeless. You feel really, really hopeless, and you feel like that's the only solution. You wish that you were anybody else than who you were, and it just seems like it's so overwhelming, and it just seems like not existing seems to be the only answer. And obviously, we know that that's not the truth. There is life after mental illness, and many times people who have had a suicide attempt now who are living enjoy their life, and I'm one of them who enjoys my life. And I'll get into that a little bit later because I'm actually writing a second book as well on suicide. So you know what? So that was my story. So I took my dad came home from bingo. He found me unresponsive, and I don't remember any of this. This was all that was told to me, and I basically I was unconscious, and they called the ambulance, and the ambulance took me to the hospital. They got me into intensive care. My family doctor was on call, and they called him in. You know, so they called my family doctor in, and I had a charcoal treatment. Really not sure what that's all about, but I think they pump charcoal or charcoal treatment, some kind in your system. And I don't remember any of that. Apparently, I was in intensive care next to an old neighbor of mine, and I was crying, and I was crying to him, and I was talking to him, but I don't remember any of that. The only thing I remember was waking up 2 days later in the psych ward again. And you know, I can remember my counselor coming in, and she said, you had a suicide attempt, and she said, you're here. The doctor said it could have gone either way. You could either passed away or you survived like I did. But what she told me that I was very, very fortunate because I had no cognitive impairments. Apparently, a lot of times when people try to commit suicide, they'll have some kind of afterwards, and they don't exceed with their suicide. They'll have some kind of a cognitive disability of some sort. But for me, I was spared that. And you know what? You'd think that when you do wake up after an attempt, you think that you'd be glad to be alive in that, but no, the truth is you're still very have that suicidal ideation, and you just wish that you would have succeeded. So you know it really plays with the mind. You really uh, are a troubled person when you're at that stage. You're a very troubled person. So that was my experience with suicide. Now I want to give you a couple examples. I want to make a couple of points here. I belong to a chat group or a group of suicide survivors group on Facebook and everything like that. And one of the persons brought the question, is it a sin if somebody committed suicide? And you know what? And I tell people, absolutely not. I mean, you know what? We're really going through anguish, and we're really going through mental, emotional anguish, pain. And emotional pain is just as bad and just as hard as physical pain. And our mental pain is very, very difficult. So what it's like is what I told the person. I said no. I said, you know what? If somebody has committed suicide because they just couldn't handle life anymore, and that, I am sure, and with my faith, I'm sure that the Lord welcomes them with open arms, and when they arrive to heaven, he gets them a big hug. So, you know what? So and I truly believe that, folks. I really do. As a Christian, I know that God has a lot of grace. He's full of grace and forgiveness, and that's how I like to view my Lord. So, yeah. So, anyways, what I want to tell you is that like basically when you're dealing with suicide, suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation, it's an enemy. It's really an enemy, and it's no different than a soldier being on the front lines of war, fighting their enemy, shooting at them and everything like that. You're in a battle, and you're in a battle with an enemy. And when we're at war, a physical war, we're shooting, we're blowing people up, all that kind of stuff. You're in a war, you're battling. And sometimes soldiers doesn't don't make it home. Sometimes people pass away on the front line, and that's the same way as with suicide. Sometimes people succeed with their suicide attempt, and and they have lost their life on the battlefield. But it's not a selfish thing. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, he was suicidal. He's only thinking about himself," or there's not selfish ideas commit suicide, but we're in so much pain, emotional pain and anguish, that it's just unbearable, and it is a battle. No less of a battle than you're a soldier in that when you're in the war. So that's very important. Another thing that is very comforting to realize when somebody has been uh, succumbed to suicide is this. And I can remember talking to a lady at one of my speaking engagements, and she was telling us about her son had committed suicide, and she had absolutely no reason why, no had no answers, and she was she was talking to me about that a bit, and I said, well, I said, for instance, in my case, when I was very delusional and very psychotic, um, I can remember walking down the sidewalk, and then I had this sort of this voice in my head, or this voice, or this urge that they told me to go. I had to go walk in front of traffic. I had to go walk in the 4 lane highway. So I was out there on the 4 lane highway, and I was walking toward the traffic on the coldest night of the year in 1987 in January. And cars and trucks were coming down, they're beeping their horns and they're swerving around me. And I was very, very out, could have got killed. So, anyways, I was out there for a couple of minutes and traffic was going around me. And I got back on the sidewalk and started walking. But the point is here is that if I would have been hit by a car or a truck, people would have thought that I committed suicide. But the fact was is that at that time I didn't want to die. I wasn't suicidal. It was just my illness, my psychosis, my voices that brought me into the situation that took my life. And this woman was very, very relieved about that. She couldn't believe how much I helped her by explaining that sometimes there's suicidal because of your illness that's unintentional, and then other times there's intentional suicide, and other times there's suicide because of certain situational situations in your life, and that's how that works. Okay, so I hope that I cleared up and talked a little bit about that. Just to give you some statistics with schizophrenia and suicide, is that 1 out of every 100 people will have an illness known as schizophrenia, and 50% of the people diagnosed will have a suicide attempt, and actually 10% of people with schizophrenia who do have that attempt succumb to the suicide. They were successful, and it's a lot of people. And we know we read about suicide every day. We hear about it, and it's a terrible thing. And there's certain things that people believe. Some people believe it should be hushed up. Other people believe it should be out in the open. Some people think that we could need to talk about it and different things like that. And one of the most important things, I think, that a lot of times people think, well, I don't know what to say or do around people with the suicidal ideation. And basically, what you're doing with somebody who has a suicidal ideation is just being there with them, and you don't have to talk, you don't have to ask them questions, you don't have to try to lift them, you don't have to try to fix them or anything. Just being there is a very, very big help. I can remember many years ago, my uncle passed away from aneurysm, a stroke. He had a stroke, and he was taken to the hospital, and my aunt was there, and I was the first relative to show up at the hospital with and stay with my aunt. And I was just there, and I really wasn't saying anything or anything like that. I was just there beside her. Well, her husband ended up passing away, but many times, my aunt, she would say, "Oh, I don't know what I would have done without Billy being there. He was so supportive, and he was just my comfort, and I'll never forget that." And I'm thinking, well, wow, that's odd because I don't remember doing anything special or anything like that. I was just there. I was just beside her and there with her. And so I think that's what we need to do. So you don't have to fix somebody. You don't have to necessarily talk about it. A lot of times, just being there to listen or just to be there is very important. I can remember um, being up 3, 4 in the morning at my house, and my mom would get up, and we would sit at the kitchen table. We'd be drinking our tea, and there'd be no conversation at all. But we'd just be there. We're there um, with each other's company. Okay, I think I'm going to move on now from just talking to you there about some suicide stuff. Now I want to give you maybe some housekeeping. I want to give you some updates on what's happening with me and with my website and with what's going on here. So first of all, I want to tell you that um, eventually I'm going to phase out the streaming uh, that goes to the my Facebook group, to Cry a Dry Tear, to my Twitter channel Periscope, to my YouTube channel, and um, yeah, and that and what I'm going to be doing is I'm still going to be doing my broadcasting, helping parents of mentally ill children, but I'm only going to be broadcasting on that Facebook group, helping parents of mentally ill children. So if you still want to get and see these podcasts, you need to go to my Facebook group. You need to go into Facebook and just type in the search helping parents of mentally ill children. And you're going to want to just subscribe to that or become a member of that group, because I'm trying to build my tribe, and I'm trying to basically have people come to me instead of me going out everywhere that way. So once again, I'm going to phase this through probably within from now to the next month. And what's going to happen is that with my YouTube, when I'm doing these podcasts, they get put on my YouTube channel in my public domain. So what's going to happen is I have over 400 teaching videos on my YouTube channel, and they're open to the public in that, and they're going to remain open. They're going to remain public so anybody can view them. However, moving forward, from once we have sometime this month moving forward, we're only going to have these new videos, these videos that I'm doing now, the live broadcast, on my Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children page, that page. And I think we're probably going to wean out the To Cry a Dry Tear Facebook page, and we're going to try everybody to get them to sign up to the Helping Parents. And I'm going to be making that group, the Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children, I'm going to be making that group private. So if you, so the only way that you can go on there is by requesting to be going on there through that private group, and that's where all my new videos moving forward will be on that platform. Now, so that's going to be taking place probably within the next month. I'm working on that. I'm working on revamping my website. Now, what's very exciting, I wanted to tell you this. It's kind of funny, you know how I can't keep a secret. I gotta tell you, I can't keep a secret. But I've just been working on a project, and what I'm gonna be doing is that we're gonna have Zoom discussion groups, and what that's gonna entail. what that's going to entail is that if you are a person who are looking for support and looking for some companionship and some information and learning experience, I'm gearing this to right at the beginning to parents of mentally ill children, and you're going to have the opportunity to subscribe to take out a subscription and be part of a Zoom group every week at the same time. And these Zoom groups will go for an hour and a half once a week at the same time. And I'm going to be your host, and there'll be 9 other people on there. So we get to know each other, and you can support each other, and we learn. And it's all about education, and it's all about support. And it's a discussion group, so we're just going to discuss things that come up randomly. So this is going to be it's going to be through Zoom, and it's going to be through a subscription base only. So it will be a recurring monthly fee, but we'll have a Zoom meeting every single week at the same time with the same people, and that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And really, I kind of got that idea because of COVID, kind of, and how with our church, I'm really part of a few Zoom groups just for socializing with some of my friends and different things like that. So that's very exciting. I'm very excited about that. As well, I want to update you on my second book. I'm writing a second book called Over the Edge and Back, and it's about people who have attempted suicide, however, survived, and who enjoy life today. And I'm actually getting that an international flavor to it, where we're talking about culture as well. So we're going to be doing a bunch of different profiles, and we're going to be talking about culture and suicide as well. So I'm in the present. I'm looking for somebody right now to write a profile from somebody from Mumbai. I'm looking for somebody from Mumbai, India, who has had an attempted suicide. Whoever enjoys life. And so if that's a male or a female in Mumbai, that'd be great. And then I'm looking for somebody in New Delhi. So if we got a man from Mumbai, then I want a woman from New Delhi. Or if we get a man from New Delhi, I want a woman from Mumbai, just to break it up into that sections there. So if you know of anybody, please email me and everything like that. And so you can find out more about these things on my website at billmcphee.ca. And I'm very looking forward to doing a bunch of stuff and making a difference and helping you in our life, in our lives. And that's what it's about. It's about helping each other, and again, helping parents of mentally ill children. Okay, I think I said all that I want to say. I can't think of anything else new that I want to tell you. Other than that, just again, I'll plug my book, To Cry Dry Tear, Bill McPhee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia. And you can, what's unique about that book, it has all my nursing notes and doctor's notes and everything like that. I think I'm going to end there. So I'm going to say I'm going to sign off, but before I sign off, I just want to say a little prayer. So this is the time, if you are rolling your eyes and say, oh, Bill's going to pray now, well, this is a great time for you to sign off. But I'm just going to pray for you people out there, that the Lord would help you in practical ways dealing with your son or daughter in this situation, and hopefully it can bring some comfort to you. So Lord, we just want to lift up the people out there who are struggling with certain situations in their lives, and who may be odds and at their wits' end and not knowing what to do. And I pray, Lord, that you would just comfort them, that you guide them and direct them to helping them to have help. We pray, Lord, for those with doctor's appointments and medical tests and all that's going through, who are seeing psychiatrists or counselors or seeing people, their pastors or clergy or whatever. We just pray, Lord, that you'd help them in practical ways, help their life become easier. And we just pray, Lord, that you'd be with them and allow them to feel your presence and your love in their lives. So we ask this in Jesus' name. Okay, folks, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you next week live at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and most likely I'll have a guest. If you sign up to our newsletter, you'll get emails about past guests and future guests and things like that. So go check us out at billmcphee.ca. Okay, everybody, bye bye for now. Keep safe.